Welcome to another episode of Uncomplicating Business. My name is Sarah. I am a business coach. I'm the creator of Selling for Weirdos, and I am a teacher turned entrepreneur. And today we are going to talk about one of those things that I think nobody talks about when you turn into an entrepreneur. We all want, but somehow is not part of the conversation. What we're going to talk about today is how to create a workday that actually fits you. And the reason that I want to talk about this today is because it is one of those things that I end up talking with coaching clients and networking connections and people all over the place with, because so many of us go from, corporate or teaching in particular to entrepreneur land. And I had a stop in corporate between teaching and entrepreneur land. And we get here in entrepreneur land where we own our own schedules. And it's like, now what? How do I do this? So today, what I want to do is share 5 questions. And these are the questions I find myself asking people all the time when we talk about the day that they have as an entrepreneur and what they want versus what they need versus sort of what we expect a work day to be, because we all have sort of this, 7:30 to 3 or 9 to 5 or whatever have it be expectation. I mean, I started life with a bell schedule. So what I want to share today are the questions that I think through and that I help other people think through in coaching when we start to actually intentionally create a work day that isn't maybe the typical work day, because nobody came into entrepreneur land to continue to be at 9 to 5 or 7:30 to 3 or whatever it is. We came for different, not for the same. If we wanted the same, we just stayed where we were. So the first question is both the simplest and the hardest. What do you need from your day? Like, what do you need? For example, for me, I need the flexibility to sometimes have the day, start at different times. I need the day to be able to end at different times. For me, flexibility in my day is like the highest order need. That's the first thing. The second thing is I need a little time in the morning once my kids are gone. And I still have school-aged kids. So I have one that right now gets on the bus at 6:45, and I have another that gets on the bus at 8:30. So my day starts at 5:30, but nobody's out of here until 8:30. I need a little bit of time between 8:30 and, like 9:30 a lot of the time where I don't have to talk to anybody. That is what I've learned as a business owner, that I need some quiet space to like read for a minute and have tea and write in my journal and get myself organized for the day before I dive into talking to other human beings, and a lot of them sometimes. I have colleagues, I have clients, I have friends that jump right into the people part and need the quiet at the other end. I have colleagues and friends that jump into the people part and they need to be able to go to the gym at lunch, or they need to be able to start the day with the workout once the kids are gone or once at the start end of their day. And they're happy to end at 6 o'clock, right? Like I need to be done by 3:30 or 4 o'clock most days. So the question for you right out of the gate is like, what do you actually need? What do you, what has to be what has to be an ingredient? The second question is a weird one, but it's important. It's like, how do you think a workday is supposed to work? Like, what are your expectations? What are your assumptions? What are your shoulds? Like, I have a very deeply ingrained should that I should be at my desk at 8:30. When my kid gets on the bus, like the next thing I should do is come sit down at my desk and start work because my day has begun. And I fight that all the time. Like I intentionally will go sit in the other room and be like, no, I am not going to my desk, rule breaker. And it is so like juvenile and so important all at the same time. It's fascinating. But, my expectations, our expectations of what a work day is supposed to look like is like we sit down and we work until we're done. But is that really what you want your day to look like? Do you want to sit down at your desk at 8:30 in the morning and get up 8 hours later? That's not what I want. I want to be able to like get up and go do other things. And if I need to go to the grocery store, I do. And if I want to go do laundry, I do. And if I want to go take a walk, I do. Because, the person who is the boss that I'm reporting to is also me and she is cool with it. I want to be able to do those things. But I have shoulds around like, am I allowed to leave my desk right now? Like, good Lord. What are the things like I have a client, for example, who her expectation is that all her work should fit into Monday through Friday. But what she really wants is to do less work during the week and do a little bit of work on Saturday and Sunday. And her life is flexible enough that she can sit at her desk for 2 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Sunday, or even three, and not be doing it and do less things the other days so she has a little more flexibility during the week. I don't want that. That doesn't work in my day, but that's really what she loves. But she wants to be able to be done a little earlier during the week. So she picks up that time that she, has things she wants to accomplish on the weekend. I often sit down on a Sunday night and sort of organize myself for the week or spend a couple hours writing things that have been rattling around in my head. That's fine. But we have these expectations. Sometimes I have the expectation that I like can't be allowed to work on the weekends because weekends are not work. And then I find that I want to go do some work and I'm like, oh, but I'm not allowed to do that. Oh my goodness, that's bonkers. It's really important to sit down and sort of dig out what you think is supposed to be happening so that you know what your assumptions are. Because then you can go like, oh, is this an assumption I want or I need? Am I cool with this one? Because if you're not, then let it go. If you're cool with the idea, but I have a couple, and I have another client who like wants all the work to fit in Monday through Friday, and she would rather like keel over than work on a Saturday, which is great. So she keeps her weekend sacred, and that's fine. Everybody's got a different version, but for her, that's an intentional decision. She does not Saturday with people, and that's okay. Question 3. How standard will it be? And I have standard in quotes because here's the thing. In entrepreneur land, we get choices. If you want your calendar and your schedule and your availability to be different every day, that is okay. If you want to work half day on Monday, not at all on Tuesday, all day Wednesday, all day Friday, and all day Saturday, great. If you want to work 4 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, 7 hours, awesome. If you want it to sit down every week on Sunday and decide what your week is going to look like, fantastic. If you want it to be the same all the time, also fine. If you want the very predictable hours, great. I do better with sort of regularity, but then again, I still have children. So like yesterday, I did nothing. Like I did not do a ton of work. I did my client meetings, but all of the like in the business work, on the business work, I didn't do any of that yesterday because I just didn't. It wasn't a day that had that. And that's okay. But I think it is important to sort of recognize what kind of tolerance and need for regularity you may or may not have. Like I really do. My husband makes fun of me a little bit because I could legitimately eat the same 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for the rest of my life. Like I have no need for diversity there. I could have somebody pick out my clothes every day, be perfectly happy. I don't need to do any of that. I don't need a whole lot of different. I like regular. I think a lot of teachers are like that. That's why we're drawn to it, maybe. There's some repetitiveness and some predictability and some other things. But also, like, I have plenty of friends and clients that are like, no, no, no. When every day in the schedule is sort of different and new and interesting, it keeps me engaged. I'm like, great. Let that be the way it works. But what we often don't do is allow it to be okay that every day is different, right? We don't think we try to cram it into this box that is a predictable container in a schedule that is not meant to be predictably contained. And then we're like, oh my God, it's not working. Well, you put it in a box that didn't fit in. It's like trying to put shoes in a ring box. Like they don't fit, right? It's like I saw a video on TikTok the other day of a like 100-pound Newfoundland puppy trying to get into a baby carrier, and it did not fit. And he was like beside himself because he was trying to sit in the baby seat. Well, of course he doesn't fit. That's not the size the babies are. So, when we are trying to cram ourselves into a box that doesn't fit, the schedule starts to feel really bad. And that's a sign that the workday that you have in your head or the expectations that you have for your workday are not fitting the actual things you want to accomplish the way you want to accomplish them. And that's okay. It just means that you need to change. Question number 4, and this one, friends, this is the humdinger, is how long do you actually need to do what matters? Because I will tell you this, there is a never chance that I need 8 whole hours to do the things I need to do in a day in my business. I do not need to be at my desk for 8 hours in a row, not ever. That is not the kind of business I run. It is not the kind of business I want. And I know very few people that need that. Depends on your business. If you're like making something, if you have a product-based business and it requires your physical touch, maybe you're in your creation space and you're doing that for, X hours. But generally speaking, the requirements of my day outside of client calls and group coaching meetings and whatever, the things I need to accomplish in any given day probably take less than 2 hours. So if I don't have any calls that day, what I really only need at my desk is 2 hours. And what happens when I have too much time is I don't do the things that matter because I have too much time. And I start to like wander around and get doubt. Like too much time is a problem, actually. So what this is about is like, what are the things that matter? How long do they take? How long are you sitting at your desk? And how do those two things compare? Because if you are sitting at your desk for far longer than you need to be, what you're doing is creating space for your brain to spin out on stuff. You're creating space for doubt and space for all kinds of things that you aren't helping you get more things done, honestly. More time at our desks is often a productivity killer, not a productivity helper. We feel like if we're here more, we'll get more done, but we won't. We actually need smaller blocks of time. I, more times than I can count on my fingers, have had clients create shorter days than longer days because they get more accomplished when they have a time cap. I am the same way. So the question kind of buried underneath here is, what is the smallest amount of time in any given day that you need to accomplish what matters? And it could be that you decide that on a day-to-day basis. It could be that you look at your calendar for today and you think like, this is a 4-hour day. You could look at your calendar for tomorrow and be like, this is a 6-hour day. You can look at your calendar for Monday and be like, this is a 2-hour day. And then when that 2 hours is done, you can look around and be like, is there another hour worth of stuff I want to do? Or do I want to go do not work things? Do I want to go for a walk? Are there things at the house or with my kids or with my family that I need to do? What are the things that I want to accomplish outside of here? What are the things I'm avoiding doing? Or do you paint? Do you garden? Do you craft? Do you work out? Do you whatever? Do you want to go do all those other things that you would rather do? Because you can love your business, but you can also have other things. So what is the smallest amount of time that you need? And then how do you extricate yourself? Because that's the real trick, isn't it? Making yourself get up and leave. I actually leave my office, like I close my computer, I'm just very symbolic, and I leave my office. Sometimes I have to like straight up leave the house, but most of the time now, and I'm, quite a long time into both working from home and running my own business at this point. Like I've been running a business since 2016. So I am much practiced at close the computer, turn off the lights, walk away, it's done. Does that mean that I'm not emailing myself when I have a good idea? No. When I have an idea, I email it to myself. But I'm walking away and going to do the other things I would rather do. That is going to happen today too. Like I looked at my calendar for today. I have, some work in the morning. I'm recording this. I have a connection call with someone new here in a little bit. I'm going to upload this and do all the things with it. At noon, I'm going to walk away. I have a call at 1, I have a call at 2, and then I'm done and I'm out. That's it. That's my day. So what does it look like for you? Here's the last question. This one is really important and it is the one we don't do. How often do you need quiet, breaks in your day, or days away? And I should say days away because we all need quiet breaks in the day and days away. And how do you schedule them in ahead? Because here's the thing. If we don't schedule them in ahead, they disappear, right? But I am famous for what, if you ever see my calendar, what is blocked off in my calendar are days called no people days. And what they are days where I don't talk to other people. They're literally that. There are no clients, there are no connects, there's no networking, there's no nothing besides Sarah and Sarah's thoughts and Sarah's things that Sarah wants to accomplish. And a lot of times it's a 3-hour day instead of a 6-hour day, right? So I have no people days. They work slower. I accomplish like side projects and things that I just haven't had the brain space for. And they are at least twice a month in my calendar, if not more. The other thing I do is schedule half days and I build my calendar. Like no one can talk to me before 11 o'clock on a Monday. Like that's just built into my calendar. No one can talk to me after 2 o'clock on a Friday. That's built into my calendar, right? What are the spaces that you need? I have on Wednesdays, I have a block carved out in the middle of the day because I just need it on Wednesdays. What are the other spaces you can hold? What are the times where you need like 3 days in a row away? And I know for most entrepreneurs and business people, that seems insane, but it really matters. Like I have a client who this year over the summer took an actual vacation. Like she went away for 7 days and didn't do any work and didn't touch her email. And that was the first time she had been more than a day without doing work in her business in almost 2 years. And she came back a new person. And she looked at me afterwards and she was like, that should have happened sooner. I would have gotten a lot more done if I had done that sooner. Yes, we had talked about it and she just wasn't ready, and that's okay. But at the same time, those breaks really make a difference. So, what are the spaces you need that you can plug in ahead of time? At the first of the month, go in and plug in days away in the next like month out. So in October 1st, I'll go in and put in the days away in November. November 1st, I'll go in and put in the days away in December. I do that really far ahead because that way, when I go to schedule clients or I schedule meetings that are a little further out, like I still have the space. So these are the things that you can do and think about to create a workday that actually works for you, because that's the whole point of the workday when you own your own business. It's having a day that fits you instead of looks like everybody else's day. Because if you wanted your day to look like everybody else's day, you would have stayed wherever you were. But you want to do it your way. And so these are questions that you can ask yourself to get in that direction. If you have a minute and you want to rate or share this podcast, we would love that. That would be a huge help. If you can just do it on whatever platform you listen to. If you have any feedback, please feel free to reach out and send it. You can find me through my website or LinkedIn or Facebook. If you are not in the Facebook group, it is called Uncomplicating Business for Teachers, Helpers, and Givers, just like this podcast. If this podcast is for you, the group is definitely for you. Come in, come play with us, come meet some people. I am a big connector, so I will introduce you around. And If you are ready for coaching or you want to come into Selling for Weirdos, all of those things you can find on my website, which is torpycoaching.com. And I will see you in 2 weeks.